Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Stollings. You know me here on YouTube as MarauderEX, and as always, I'm your host for Operation Recap, where I take some of the stories from Rainfall.com and I throw them at your face here on YouTube because, you know, that's what I do. I like the YouTube things. I do the YouTubes. The tubes of the U. I am here in my fortress of solitude. I'm exceptionally tired. I do apologize for that. I was up very late last night, and I blame a couple of my coworkers from Rainfall. They know who they are, and I'm blaming them, and I told them I would blame them for this. So, yes, I'm groggy. So, this week's been kind of a quiet week, and it was actually really hard for me to go through and find some stories this week that I felt that you guys wanted to hear about. There's a couple of stories that I could talk about, but I don't really... A couple of anime stories. Attack on Titan has some new voice acting information. Sailor Moon has a new series that's going to be celebrating its 20th anniversary, which makes me feel like I witnessed the building of the pyramids or something like that. This is just weird. But I don't talk a lot about anime, so I didn't want to get into that. There's a lot of press releases, which I try not to talk about the press releases because those are, you know, press releases. There's not, you know, any sort of anything we can add to it. I do have one of the press releases in the story because I do want to try to add something to it. I hope I can without offending anyone. And then we have a lot of editorials, which I don't typically talk about the editorials. I plug them, but I don't, you know, give them a recap because I don't want to speak for the authors, because the authors have their own opinions and spin on it that I want them to get across. And so it was really hard. So these three are kind of strange. I'll start with a press release, since that is the one I typically don't do. Sega announced a mobile Crazy Taxi game. Crazy Taxi City Rush, which is kind of a big deal because I honestly thought this franchise was left for dead. It was more popular in the arcades. Crazy Taxi 1 was a huge hit on the Dreamcast. Crazy Taxi 2, not as much so because of when it came out in the Dreamcast's lifespan, but the fact that they are still acknowledging this franchise gives me hope that Sega has not just completely discounted all of the franchises that they have been building up over the course of my lifetime. But I'm not a fan of mobile games. I know that's the direction Sega is kind of going into, but I would much rather have seen it as a mobile game and as like a download for a console. Because I like my phone, but I don't play games on my phone because I like to use my phone as a phone. I'm one of those weird ones, so... So the other two actual stories that I'm going to talk about, which intrigue me, options to rent Catherine have suddenly appeared on the PlayStation Network. This is a kind of a big thing. Sony announced at E3 that they were going to do a lot of things. They were going to have the Gaikai streaming service where you could play the old games because the PS4 is not backwards compatible, and that's, you know... That's a fairly ambitious project in itself, because a lot of people think of it, oh, the Virtual Console, it didn't have every game on it, it just had most of the Nintendo ones, and then they lost some of the games, and it was a back and forth, so that's just going to be it. But the ability to rent a game, a timed download for a console, that's impressive. It's not new by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, we've had timed downloads forever for trial versions of PC software for as long as I can remember. So, but this coming to a console is kind of a big deal because it's like a demo, in my opinion, but it's not limited. And that's the thing about demos that always kind of bothered me. They can take a section out of the game, giving you no context, so you don't know if you're going to like the story. You might like the gameplay, you might like the music, but the story might just be too boring for you to keep track of or, like, push through. Or it could just be something that, again, kind of cherry-picked, especially in RPG. If you get something that's an RPG, you don't get a full feel of how the battle system might work. You don't have all of the abilities that might make the game worthwhile playing. It's odd. But to rent it, the whole game, you can start at the beginning, see if it's something you would like, because you're starting at the beginning of the game, but nothing's really being ruined for you, because if you don't like it, you're not going to buy it. If you do like it, you're going to spend the money to get the license on PSN. The image shown has a 1-day rental and 7-day rental, both listed as free. They can be purchased, but they don't work at the moment. So here's hoping that this is something that actually they follow through with like that, because I'm really intrigued by that. I would much rather try the game to begin with, see if it's going to be worth my money. If it is, I download it. If not, then no harm, no foul. And it's not, I'm not taking a gamble of what am I getting in the demo, what randomness is being thrown in together for the demo. The next story, and last one for this week, is The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has been delayed to 2015. This is kind of a, not kind of a shock, but kind of a shock at the same time. You kind of get that feeling. Witcher 3 was shown off at E3. It looked incredibly amazing, overly ambitious, which is kind of why I'm not surprised. But the fact that it was shown off at E3 in the state that it was, it does kind of surprise me, because I just got the impression that it was closer to being done than it apparently is. And now the release date has been slated for February 2015, so a year from now. Instead of later this year, it is almost a full year from now. I mean, we're in the early stages of March. That's a long time to say, yeah, we're just going to throw the game back. So, not as far into the development as possible, but the development team did write an open letter to their shareholders and their fans, stating the reasons why, and they're very candid about it. It's like, we have an overly ambitious project. We thought we could do it, and it's not coming along as well as we want it to. We want to make this their penultimate creation. So I can't fault them for that. I mean, I'm fine with games being delayed for QA purposes. If you want, I'm blanking on the quote, but Shigeru Miyamoto has a quote of, if you create a good game, it doesn't matter how long it's delayed, but create a bad game and everyone will remember it's a bad game. Blanking on that quote, but the sentiment is shown completely in this open letter. I strongly suggest you guys check it out, because if you were a fan of the Witcher series, I'm sure you're a little bummed that the game is delayed, but reading the letter, it does give confidence as to they're delaying it for a reason, and they want to make sure they put out the best product they can. They don't want to do a Duke Nukem Forever and just, oh, we're going to delay it and put out crap. We want to delay it to put out what we can. So, check those stories out. I'm not including all of the links from the week because there's just way too many of them this week, and I'm way too tired. But we do have the retro recap. Jonathan Higgins, one of our Commander-in-Chiefs, has taken that series over and is doing that. So we are going to mutually plug each other's recap for the week. So go check that out. That'll have all of the links in it as well. I will probably include a link to that in the description because, hey, links back and forth. And I'm going to go get some more sleep. And I will see you guys next week for another recap. Till then, later, everyone.